Hi, I'm John. This is Slow Learner, a channel where I share videos about my process of learning and improving on the baritone ukulele. I decided to do this video on movable shapes that you can play anywhere all up and down the fretboard. It's commonly known as the CAGED system, C-A-G-E-D. The idea of these caged shapes is that you can play any major chord in any location up and down the neck of the guitar. So for instance, I can play an open G, but I can also play a G here. I can play a G here. I can play a G here. And I can play a G using the method I'm about to show you here as well. And those are all G major chords. They all have the same notes, but they're using different strings in different locations. And why is that useful? Well, there's kind of a couple major reasons. One, you can pick the sound of the chord that you like. And even though they're the same notes, when you flip the order, that's called a different chord voicing, and it can sound pretty different. Like here, this open G on the baritone uke, I don't like too well. It doesn't have a G note down low. This is the root or the G in that chord, and it sort of gets muffled with the D underneath it, I think. To me, that's kind of a better sound. I don't know if you can tell any difference, but I like this voicing of the chord better for a lot of applications. So it gives you that flexibility of finding the chord in a way that sounds good to you. The other useful thing about it is that if you're up here in the middle of the neck and you're holding down all the strings with your left hand, you can do left hand muting. So you can be like, that kind of stuff. Whereas down here, the only way to mute is to use your right hand. And there's a lot of great ways to do that, and it's a good thing to try to learn how to do and try to practice. But for me and for a lot of people, I think it's probably a lot harder than muting the strings with the left hand. So that's a little bit about why you'd want to do this, but how do you do it? Okay, so we'll start with the first shape in this system, which is the C shape. And throughout this next section, we'll be playing C major the whole time. All right. So the first shape for playing C major is the C shape, and this is an exception to the rule. I'm going to show you this one first in the open position at that. We're not going to use the index finger in these movable shapes because we're going to need it. Alright, so instead, put your middle finger down here on the first fret, holding down the C, and then put your ring finger up here on the second fret, holding down the E on that D string. And that gives you C major. And in this movable C shape, the root is in one place only, right here where your middle finger is holding down the note. Okay, how's this movable? Right now I'm just playing an open C major and I haven't gone anywhere with it. right? So how do I move it? Well, I bring that index finger into play. I slide everything up a fret, and now the index finger is holding down the G string right there, and it's also holding down the high E string. So I can play it like this with my index finger lower down on the fretboard, but for comfort I usually just lay it right up there, and I roll it a little bit, and I lay it so close to that fret that looking at it you might not even be able to see that fret. Alright, and now I'm playing a C sharp major or a D flat, and if I move that up another fret I can play a D major, an E, if I move it up two more, an F, or a G, or an A, and then I'm kind of running out of space and it gets a little bit more difficult to play. So the C shape is a easy one to move around. The root is always right under your middle finger, right here. So if you wanted to start a scale, you could start it there. And it's quite a useful shape to know. So now let's look at the next shape. And if you go back to the C here, that shape has the fifth right here. It's that G. But you can play this an alternate way. And this is an important thing that helped me figure this whole thing out. And it was provided to me by watching another video that I will link to in the description. But like I pointed out, that you can put down this pinky here on the 3rd fret and play a G, and that is still a C major chord. It's just now you've replaced this 3rd, which you already have here, with an extra 5th. So you have Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol. Two different strings playing a G. And you don't always want to play it this way, but you can if you want to. But where it comes in really handy is that this is now the pivot point, or the location where you go to find the next chord shape to play the same chord, in this case C major. So once you're holding down the C shape and you want the next one, put down your pinky 3 frets up from where you have your index finger. So if I was here, it would be there, but I'm down at the nut, so it's here. And then pivot your index finger to that location and put down your 3 free fingers a couple frets up from that on this 5th fret in this case. Alright, so hopefully you can see that. And it's kind of an awkward chord to hold down, but that is a C major chord, and I hope you see the relationship to the A major shape that you would normally use to play A major down here. If I slide that up, that's a B, that's a C, and that gives me that chord. Alright, so index on the 3rd string, all the other fingers on the 5th string. I can play that. I can also just lay the index finger all the way across here and play it like that, it might be a little awkward to keep this one fretted firmly under there. Some people, you might like it. Some people might use it occasionally. I don't think it's a very good movable shape. It's kind of hard to slide around. All your fingers are tied up, so it becomes difficult to try to play any melodies or single notes. So I'm not going to say too much more about the A shape. What's next after A? Well, C, A, G, E, D. So G comes next. This A shape is most useful to me as kind of a waypoint on my way to the G shape. Now these three fingers are on the next fret. That's going to be your next reference point. And you're going to now slide up so that your index finger is on that 5th fret. All right. And now you can play C major by holding down your pinky on the 8th fret, another 3 frets up. And that's your C shape major chord. Sorry, G shape. And it just happens to be the C that I normally play on the ukulele. It's to me the easiest way to play a C chord, and it's right in the middle of the fretboard, so it makes it very convenient. That's a C major. And to review real quickly, we got there this way. We started with the C down at the nut, put the pinky down on the G as a reference point, grab that with our index finger, put the other fingers down on the 5th fret. Now we're playing an A-shaped C major chord. Put the index finger down there and grab this top string with the pinky. And now we're playing a C major chord, G shape. All right. And the G shape is a very convenient way to play C. You can play D by sliding up a couple frets. It's nice for playing A. And like the B chord or B flat, you know, those chords aren't easy to play open anywhere down on the bottom of the near the nut, but you can get a B flat here and you can get a B here, and then you're back to C on the 5th fret. Re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. All right, and that's a pretty convenient layout for playing a lot of different scales and things. You can play a whole major scale pretty easily without changing positions. All right, what's next after that? Well, C, A, G. Next is E, right? And once again, just like before, the place where you start it is the highest note on the last thing that you played. So you're kind of chasing your fingers up from the nut towards the bridge. So now we're going to move our index finger to the 8th fret where the pinky is located. And that will become part of this new chord. But this is the E shape. And once again, I hope you can see how it connects back to the E that you would play on the open position. Index or middle finger here, ring finger here. Normally you'd play that index middle, but we're saving our index finger. And then slide it up to get an F. And you can slide that up to get a G. And then you can slide that up to get an A. and then you can slide that up, get a B, and then you can slide that up to get a C, which is where we were before. Okay, so just to recap how we got here, and this is slow, right? Slow learning. We started with the C shape, and we put down the pinky as our reference point, and then we played the A shape, and then replace that mess with your index finger, and you can play the G shape. If you lay down your pinky here for the top note, the root, and then slide up to where your pinky is, and put those two fingers down for the E shape. Alright. And that is a super versatile and nice shape. I should point out the only notes you're actually holding down with your index finger are now these two notes, these two strings. So you could play it like this, but for comfort I think it's easier just to leave your index finger extended all the way across those strings, and it leaves them fretted in case you want to lift off with any of these fingers, which, if people are interested and if I get any positive response to this video, I might show you how to make minor chords and 7 chords using these as a starting place. And that's another key advantage of these. Of all the shapes, this one's the easiest one to kind of think about because it's root, 3rd, 5th, root. So it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, all the way up, right in order. And so it's just kind of a delightfully easy shape to use. Anyway, we were on the E shape, and this is the C. Well, I can't quite remember where that was, so I'll have to go all the way back and practice it one more time. Alright, so open C is here, put the pinky down, A is here, put the finger down there, G shape is here, shift up to there, E shape is there. We're still in the C major chord. There's only one more chord. After that there's the D shape, and the key to finding that is really just to follow this root now. So this is the furthest toward the bridge of all the strings that we're playing, and it will be the new location for my index finger. Shift it up 2 more frets then, and then to play the D shape I build a little triangle here with my fingers all scrunched up on those frets. For many people it's easier to do it by fretting down this like that, and then add a finger here. I find it almost impossible to play at this location high up here on the neck, but that is the D shape. I'm going to show it to you down toward the, not here, where it's a little bit easier to see. So I'm fretting these 3 strings in a triangle formation. So open on the D string, then 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret. But since I'm keeping my index finger handy, everything kind of gets shifted around. Middle finger here, ring finger here, pinky there. And that's a open D. And if I slide it up a fret, that's a D sharp or an E flat. And if I slide it up another one, that's an E. And it's kind of a cool sounding way to play an E, which is one of the advantages of knowing some of these voicings, like, you know, the E down here. So let's It's okay. It was a little bit, I don't know, muddy or something. E here, I think it doubles up a different tone and it gives you kind of a fuller sound. Kind of like it. So it can be really cool to know some of these movable shapes and experiment with them. So the root is doubled up, and your index finger is holding down the root back here, and your pinky is holding the root here. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Alright. So that, again, having that doubled, that octave on the root gives you kind of a more powerful sound and really brings out the key, and is a good chord to end on if you are trying to reinforce that sense of resolving tension or something like that. So that's the D shape, and I showed you how to find all of them for C major. And then just, one more sort of practice for proof of concept would be to do that for G, all the G major chord shapes. And the easiest way to do it is start with the open one of that name. So we start with the open G shape chord, right? And then we follow the finger that's closest to the bridge and go there with our index finger. E is the next letter, and so we would play the E-shaped G chord here. And that's my favorite way to play a G chord, for sure. It's a great location. It's got a great sound. You can hear the G and the root, and you can easily make it into a minor if you want. It's just a cool place to play a G. The E shape, after that we get the D shape, and so we slide up to this fret where we previously held the root, and we hold the root there again and put up our fingers in that D formation, and we play a G up there. That's also a cool sounding G. Alright, so that's the D shape. Now how do you wrap around and get back to the C? That's something we haven't done yet. And the easiest way to kind of think about that is to look at this little triad and remember that looks a lot like the bottom of a C chord, right? So that's where you actually shift your index finger up to. You shift up 2, and then you put your middle finger down on that same root. That was part of the D shape. Now it's part of the C shape. And then you just put your ring finger down here to complete the C shape chord. So that's a G major using the C shape. And then to make the A, we put our pinky down, use that as the pivot to find the A, which is very awkward. Then put our index finger down, use that as a pivot to find the G way up here. Unusably high, pretty much. Alright. But it's the octave of, this, where we started. Okay, that's the open G. So those are all different ways to play G. You'll notice only maybe 3 or 4 of them are practical because they're in the middle range of the ukulele neck, but that's still, a lot of options that you have and a lot of starting points for playing these chords. Last thing I wanted to show you, now that you know how to do all the different shapes, is how to use them to play progressions. So we'll start with the C shape, and let's just say this is going to be a C sharp, this is going to be a D, say I'm playing a song that's in the key of D, right? So the main chords that will show up in a lot of different types of songs, and they'll all be major, would be the D chord itself, the root note chord or the home chord, the G chord, which is the fourth, and the A chord, which is the fifth. Alright, and all those will be major chords. So you might want a convenient way to go from D to G to A. Well, and it doesn't matter what key you're playing in. I don't even know where I am here because I'm still not mentally real quick with this stuff, but it'll be the same, right? So the basic idea is you find the 4 and then you shift that up 2 frets to find the 5, okay? So once again, if you're playing the C shape, you can find the 4 by going up 1 fret and holding down the E shape. And then another 2 frets is the 5th. And then down 2 frets is the 4 again. And then back to the root or the first home chord in the key. Alright. What if you start on the G shape? Like, for instance, maybe I am here. I'm in C. I'm in the key of C. That's a C major using the G shape on the 5th fret. There's an easy way to get to the 4th, which is to play the C shape in the same location. So all I have to do is pop those 2 fingers on to play an F, which is the 4th of the C major key. Alright. And then to get to the 5th, I just have to go up a couple frets. See how easy and economical that is. If I compare it to playing down here to C, C, F, 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 G, G, F, F, C. Ugh, you know, it's the strings don't the voicings don't sound as good, I don't think, and there's a lot more like noise happening. And I have to move my fingers a lot more. So I much prefer that. Same chords, different spot. One last example is starting from the E shape. So let's say you're playing something in the key of G. And so you're right here, the E shape, centered on the 3rd fret, with the 2 fingers going up to the 4th and 5th frets. That's a G major. The 4th from a G major is G, A, B, C, alright? And then the 5th is D. So G to C to D, oof, that's kind of complicated even here. Doable, but what about up here? That's easier. And what's happening there is I'm going from the E shape to the G shape, up 2 frets. And then I'm sliding that up another couple frets to get the 5th. Alright. So E shape, G shape, G shape, G shape, G shape, G shape. And the chords are G, C, D, C, G. Alright. So that's a little bonus. Now that you know how to play them and what the notes are and how to find them, you also can play some progressions. So, I hope you like all that. I hope you'll comment, ask questions, give me ideas, suggest topics. Tell me how you have learned to master the same skills or have developed your own playing over time.